There is trouble in Space Sector 2814. Trouble begins with T and rhymes with G, which today stands for Grant Morrison, one of the most dangerous creative minds in the universe. Now, Grant Morrison often has a way of finding trouble. He has famously said that he was abducted by aliens in Kathmandu because he went to Kathmandu to be abducted by space aliens. Now, Grant Morrison has been accused by us in a wanted poster back during his Doom Patrol days of crimes against reason. Well, he hasn't created any crimes against reason right now, but what he has created is a new Green Lantern series called The Green Lantern. It stars Hal Jordan, our most famous space cop. It has art by Liam Sharp, and there are just a lot of nuggets inside here we'd like to show you and try to basically provide some more footnotes and explanation about this new series and this new issue. Now, one of the things I most appreciate about Grant Morrison as a writer is not just his creativity, it's his love for DC Comics history. He's one of the great readers of DC Comics, and he often takes old ideas and old characters and brings them back. Now, a perfect example of what I'm talking about happens in this first issue. One of the first creatures that Hal battles is one that's growing way too large. Now, he's going to violate, it's a real scientific principle called the square cube law. Now, it gets referenced in this comic, but Grant Morrison says he got this knowledge about the square cube law from an old Flash Facts feature. Now, if you're unaware of it, in the Flash comics from the 1950s and 60s, we would put little scientific factoids in a feature we called Flash Facts. So years later, Grant Morrison, still hanging on to this knowledge, decides to reference it in one of our comics. But there's an even cooler set of references I want to point out from this very first issue. In it, we see Carol Ferris and Hal Jordan. Hal's mentioning that he lost another no-good job, this time as a gas station attendant. She mentions that, you know, Hal had the coolest job ever. He was a test pilot. But then he went on, she says, but then you decide you'd rather be a traveling sales rep for a toy company. Next, you're selling insurance. Selling insurance? Toy company? What is she talking about? Well, Grant is actually referencing two goofy jobs that Hal Jordan had back in the past. Now, Carol's absolutely right. Hal had one of the coolest jobs of all time. Nothing could be more macho than being a test pilot at an air company. But in the 1960s, maybe in an attempt to make him more relatable to the general public, Hal took on more ordinary jobs. The first of which, well, it's as baffling to me as it was to Carol at the time, which was in Green Lantern number 53 in 1967, she asked Pieface what's happened to Hal now he's left Ferris Air, and he says he's gone to the Northwest and taken a job as an insurance claims adjuster? Yes, it's true. He ended up working at a place called the Evergreen Insurance Agency, starting out as a claims adjuster, and rather than getting rid of the job, he got even deeper involved, where you see that in a later issue, he is actually Hal Jordan, insurance agent. Now, traveling insurance salesman is not the last weird day job that intergalactic space cop Hal Jordan would have to take on. As Carol Ferris indicates in Green Lantern number 1, he also worked as a toy salesman. Yes, it happened in the very weird year of 1969. Hal Jordan takes a job as a traveling salesman for the Merlin Toy Company. Now, we can show you a panel here of him very excited with a prospective buyer selling toys to kids, but where it first occurs in issue number 70. In fact, you can see this weird-looking character here. That's Halar. He's an intergalactic toy that's gone rogue. He doesn't mean to. He's just unfortunately been damaged in his programming, and instead of bringing laughter to everyone as he's intended, he's bringing violence. So Hal has to quit his very first sales pitch to go battle Halar, but he learns a very important lesson in the very last page, and we'd like to read it for you. As Green Lantern, I feel myself the protector of all the innocents of the world. In any case, my adventure with Halar is like a sign for me to continue as Hal Jordan, traveling salesman for the Merlin Toy Company. But there you have it. Hal Jordan really did have these two really weird and bizarre jobs in the 1960s, something that Grant Morrison remembers and has reminded everybody in a little piece of dialogue here in The Green Lantern number 1. So continue reading the series. Keep checking out DC Nation to see what's happening with us and all of our comic books, and try to take some of the same magic that happens inside these comic books and bring them out to the world in your everyday life. This is an amazing medium, and Grant Morrison both remembers the past and searches for the future. So keep searching, keep reading, and keep remembering the comic book way.